Wonderful question, Evan. From here, you see the world is really one place. When you look out the windows and try to identify things, one of the things that makes it hard is you don't see those colored lines that we see on maps, because those colored lines are put there by people. And in a big way, the planet is everybody's, because we all share the same planet, the same air, etc. And so it really makes me think of the world as being a smaller place with less divisions rather than more. Hey, Daniel, that would take a long time to explain. As I understand it, a black hole is primarily like collapsed star stuff that's so tightly packed that the light cannot even escape its gravity. That's why we call it a black hole. We don't think of it, but light is actually bent by going through a gravitational field. You don't notice that on Earth, but in space, where the distances are too hard, too huge to imagine, and some of the massiveness of these big black holes is incomprehensible, we can actually see the light being bent around places in space, and from that we actually deduce that there's a black hole. Hi, Isaiah. We actually did not simulate gravity on the space station for the people. We live in a zero gravity all the time. We kind of wish we could turn gravity on. For some of our experiments, though, we simulate gravity by using smaller centrifuges that spin around inside of experiment racks so that plants can grow in a gravitational field right next to other ones that are not spinning, who are growing in zero gravity, and we can compare things that way. Hey, Patrick, it's kind of hard at first, but you get used to it, and eating actually is not a problem. You can hang by your knees from a tree branch and swallow water, and we could swallow water and food while we're hanging around up here. I think the hardest thing about gravity, or lack of gravity, is really trying to work with stuff. When you reach in a bag full of things and you're supposed to find a certain one, it's hard to control all the other ones as they start bouncing and moving around. Hi, Sam. I decided I wanted to be an astronaut really as a personal thing when I was about 12 years old, and I was watching the Apollo missions, and I said, you know, that would be the coolest thing in the world. I think I want to do that. Of course, I grew up, and I kind of gave up on that dream because I thought those things were impossible. They're not. Hi, Will. The kind of schooling I need to do my job is, my background is engineering. I have a bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering. I'm also trained as a flight test engineer in the Air Force. But astronauts have lots of different backgrounds. We have people with, science degrees like chemistry and biology and geology. We've got different kinds of engineering. We've got medical doctors. So we need people with lots of different backgrounds to be successful in space. I'll never forget the first time I looked out of the windows to see Earth from space. It was on my first space shuttle mission 5 years ago. Right after the engines cut off, I jumped up and grabbed a camera and went to the window to take engineering photos of our fuel tank because it fell away. And for the first moment, I was struck looking at the North Atlantic Ocean with a layer of clouds on it, and then the black sky above. And I saw the horizon was curved. I could see the curve of the Earth, and it was just awe-inspiring. I said a quick prayer, thanks for being able to see that view with my own eyes, not as a picture. And then it was time to get to work. We're breaking up. If I heard that last question right, it was, how are you returning to Earth from the space station? And I will be returning from the Earth to Earth on a Soyuz. The Soyuz spaceship that brought me up here in June will be bringing me home in November. I'm looking forward to it. It's supposed to be an exciting ride. Absolutely. NASA will be sending additional astronauts to the space station. We have a continuing rotation of people. We have a launch about every 3 months. New crews come up to replace guys that are leaving. I do, Vincent. Things have changed some, though, with the Space Shuttle Atlantis landing tomorrow. The kind of routine access we've had for a lot of people has changed, at least for now. But I think space is definitely a part of our future. We are explorers, and space is going to continue to be, to call those of us that want that challenge, that want to explore and find new things. Well, the private space industry is playing a much bigger role today than we could have imagined just a few years ago. So the private space industry in the U.S. will be developing, our next spacecraft. They're starting with cargo ships. We have several companies that are working on that, and hopefully within a few years, maybe 5 or 10, they plan to develop human-rated